Good morning, my tubies and my Teletubbies. This morning, we are going to discuss battling the spirit of loneliness. Now, you see the picture I have here. I like to be alone, but I hate to be lonely. That's how I am. I do. I love living alone, but I don't like being alone. There's a huge difference. Being alone means you have no friends, you have no family, you have no support, you have no one. But living alone, that's not a problem for me. Some people, it may be. But I want you to know that if you feel lonely a lot of the times, listen to me. Guess what? I've got some news for you. You're not the only one. I just want you to know that I have been where you are. And even now, there are times when I still have to battle the spirit of loneliness. Especially when we was going through that pandemic. That was rough. That was really hard. Now, so many people are overcome by loneliness and they don't know where to turn. And sometimes the things that they turn to are not always the best things that's going to help them in the long run. So, what I'd like to do right now in this message is I'd like to give you some suggestions on how to overcome loneliness. The best friends, my best friends, who I enjoy being with, now they don't live in the area that I live in. So finding quality friends in the area I live in New York, okay? And trying to find quality friends in my area, I live in Albany, New York. It's not like Manhattan, the city. I love the city. God, I love the city. But anyway, the only type of friends that I'm interested in are people with biblical morals, values, and standards. I want to live a Christian lifestyle. I do not want to live a satanic one. At the same time, I don't want to hang out with religious fanatics. And I want to repeat that just to put emphasis on it. I do not want to hang out with religious fanatics. I can't stand them. I also like and I enjoy people who are knowledgeable and people who enjoy doing educational things. Believe me when I tell you, my tubies, looking for those type of people up here, I have my work cut out for me. Now, my friends who I've had in my life since I was 16, they don't live in the area that I do, but thank Jehovah God and Jesus Christ for video chat, phone calls, and texting. That's how we stay in contact with each other and we visit each other from time to time. It's my turn to do the visiting now because the last time my friend came over here, so it's my turn to, reciprocate. Reciprocity. Sorry, that's a tongue twister for me. I really enjoy my friends. I love them. At the same time, I would like to make some local friends. But since I'm not a people pleaser, and I believe that we should always treat people the way we want to be treated, that makes it challenging to find wholesome friendships. Especially when you're dealing with the type of people that are in this location. Forget it. Up here is dog eat dog, and they don't believe in the golden rule. I live by it. I want to be around people who have good intentions towards me because that's what I have for them. But trying to find genuine, authentic, and honest people this day and age and around where I live is hard. It's probably hard all over the world. It's not just where I live. I hear so many people who are struggling trying to find decent and quality friendships. I find that I have to cut so many people off on a regular basis because I refuse to be involved in situationships where you have to do things that you don't want to do just to try to keep people around. That's not me. That's not Sheila Truelove. I'm not going to do anything that I'm not comfortable doing or that's going to stress me the hell out. I'm not doing it. A lot of people around here, all they like is drama, and guess what? More drama. And to that, I say no thank you. Come on, royalty, cool it. I only want people in my life who's going to be an asset. People who will uplift and encourage me. Not people who only, their intention is just to try to drag you down. You don't need to be around those type of people. I don't care how alone you are. Many times, feelings of loneliness, this is what I realize, it comes from the way we think. Did you know that, my tubies, my Teletubbies? A lot of the times what I find to be helpful is to do what James chapter 4 verse 8 tells us to do. And it tells us to draw close or to come near to God, and he will come near and draw close to us. Also, Matthew chapter 28 verse 20, where Jesus says, I will be with you always, always, even until the end of the world. And believe it or not, when I start to read and study, I study my spiritual literature and my Bible, it brings me so much comfort. I can't really explain it or tell you how it works, but it does, especially when I read Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and the book of Acts. These books in the Bible always make me feel closer to Jesus Christ. And I feel he's right there in the room with me a lot of the times. I really feel that way. I know this sounds so crazy, but it's true. Sometimes when I talk like this, I feel like, oh my God, am I becoming an old woman? No, I'm becoming a wiser woman. There's a lot of difference in feeling lonely and being alone with no one. Jesus makes it very clear at Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5, you will never be alone. You may feel lonely from time to time, but you are not alone. I speak with a lot of people who suffer from loneliness, depression, anxiety, stress, and low self-esteem. And when I suggest that they do what I do, so many of them also, believe it or not, they feel a sense of relief and comfort too. There are even times when we would do video chat and we'll study together. This really helps to alleviate that feeling of loneliness. Trust me when I tell you to these, it works. It works. I think it's very important also for parents to raise and teach their children how to be alone and how to be comfortable with themselves. Because if we don't, we're going to find we have a world full of nothing but lonely people. That's why when we had that pandemic, it was so hard for so many people. People were even willing to risk their lives. Risk their lives so they didn't have to be with themselves. How sad is that? When a person doesn't really like themselves too much, or they are emotionally immature, they try to avoid being with themselves. They will do anything not to just have to sit with themselves. And until they learn to actually like themselves, they're going to continue to constantly need, and they're going to have to depend on other people. God knows I hate being dependent. I like to depend on Jehovah God, Jesus Christ. I'm good. And myself. I feel lonely from time to time. But thank God I have so many interests. I have a lot of interests and I have projects that I'm working on. And I do a lot of reading. I love reading. God, I love reading and research. But I do a lot of spiritual reading. And I read my Bible. And I don't only just read it. I study these things. And this helps to drown out those thoughts and those feelings of loneliness. These are things you can also do, and you could do these things with just yourself. You don't need other people to do this. I also know that thoughts of loneliness are temporary. I realize this. These thoughts of loneliness and this feeling of loneliness is just temporary, and most of the time it goes away as fast as it came. And when I need to change my thoughts, because some people say, well, how do you change your thoughts? If my mind is so consumed with certain thoughts, how do I change it? And that's when, guess what I do? I call on my buddies. I call on Matthew. I call Mark. I call Luke. I call John. And I call Acts. And they always work for me when it comes to helping me to change my thoughts. I like to read those books. When I read the Bible or when I'm studying it, I like to always use the contemporary English version or the easy read version of the Bible. I have the on my phone, the app that I use is the U version, Holy Bible. You could go into your Google Play Store, or if you have the iPhone, you can go into your store and you can get that version of the Bible. It's called the U version, Holy Bible. It has different versions, and you could also use Gateway, Bible Gateway. But I always like to read from Contemporary English or the Easy Read version, because it makes reading so much more enjoyable and you really get into it. You actually get lost. A lot of people think, I've noticed, that they feel, well, maybe if I get married, it will take away my loneliness. But that's not true. Because, as you know, I'm an advice coach and I have several clients. And I spoke with a client of mine, and she said she was never lonelier than when she was married. She said her husband was the type of man that he enjoyed spending time alone, and eventually he built a wall around himself that she couldn't get in. And that only left her feeling lonely. Not only was she feeling lonely, but she also felt rejected. Now, of course, that led to her divorce, but she said she's now learning to love herself, and she's spending a lot more time drawing closer to Jesus Christ and getting to know God more and getting to know Jesus Christ more and developing a relationship with them. I also have a phone buddy who says that her husband, he works from 8 o'clock to 5:30. Then he goes to the gym until 8:30. He comes home, he eats, and he starts playing video games all night. She takes care of their daughter all day. And when she tells him how important it is for him to spend some time with her and for them to spend time together, he doesn't even seem to care. Not only does she feel lonely, she also feels very, very unappreciated. She said that she wished he treated her the way he treats their daughter. He treats their daughter like a queen. That's great when you have a dad who's a good father. He buys her gifts. He takes her out on, the daddy-daughter dates. And he does whatever she needs to. Royalty, stop it. Stop it, honey. That's royalty. He's such a, but I love him. Now, she said that he takes her out on daddy-daughter dates. And he does whatever she needs to make her happy, but when it comes to her, she said he hasn't kissed her for years. For years. He'd rather jack off to porn in the basement. It don't end there, because I had a man, and he told me that his wife, she would rather talk on the phone all day and hang out on social media than spend time with him. And the only time that she pays him any attention or that she's nice to him is when she wants something. Now, they've been married for 20 plus years, and this just started 10 years ago. So I assume the first 10 years, it was happy. But now she just much rather hang out on social media, hang out on her phone, and whatever. So I noticed that a lot of my clients, they're lonely, So when I speak with them, I do a lot more listening than talking, because that's what a lot of people are missing. They really just want someone to talk to who they feel understand where they're coming from. And most of the time I can feel and I can empathize with them. And once I empathize with a person, that leads me to having a great deal of compassion for them. Now keep in mind, I have been married twice, and I felt alone too, because I didn't feel understood or I didn't feel connected to either one of my husbands or my fiance. So when someone is talking to me about this, trust me, I get it. I totally get it. So you see, just because you get married, that don't necessarily stop the loneliness. I think Chris Rock put it, he put it this way. You're either married and bored or single and lonely. Personally, me, I would rather be lonely living alone than to be lonely and living with someone else, because once you're living with someone, you can't hardly do anything about it. But that's just me. I think the difference, this is what I think after giving it much thought. I think the difference between people who are chronically lonely and people who are not, it's their way of thinking and the way they perceive the world. It's your state of mind that makes the difference. That's what I believe. Okay, now I want you to keep in mind Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 through 30, the Contemporary English version, where it says, if you are tired from carrying heavy burdens, and loneliness can be a very heavy burden to carry, Jesus Christ says, come to me and I will give you rest. Take the yoke I give you. Put it on your shoulders and learn from me. I am gentle and humble, and you will find rest. My yoke is easy to bear, and this burden will always be light. Okay, my tubies, that's it for me. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share if you feel you have benefited or if you feel this can benefit someone else. I love you, and remember, you may feel lonely from time to time, but you are never, ever alone. Turn on my channel sometime when you feel lonely. I'm going to start working on my playlist, so you can check that out too. Bring me right into your home. Bring me into your home. Just turn me on. I love you, like I said, so, so very much. And so does Jehovah God and Jesus Christ. You are never alone. Goodbye for now.